the desert of the real.
Welcome to the Desert of the Real. I am your host, Ryan Hudson. Joined with me, of course, is your other host,
Jason Deeds.
And together we are the Desert of the Real.
Together we form.
The Desert of the Real is a movie podcast where I force Jason to watch all the big blockbuster movies he's refused to watch because he didn't think they were worth his time. We are two high school teachers. We teach English, film, philosophy, and creativity classes. And we have graduate degrees, so we know what we're talking about. We use our academic training to dig deeply into movies. We explore the creativity, philosophy, and ethics in our movies. And we push you, the listeners, to think critically about your movies.
It is true.
It is true. That's my whole point of my film class, is to try to get them to think about these things. If you listen to this podcast, you are a critical thinker.
In theory.
In theory. You could
we
say...
hope.
Because this podcast, you could say, is when...
You could not say that.
Meet
academia. So also, we could say that...
Films meet academia, as ChatGPT once said about our podcast.
We could say that we have a mole.
We have a mole?
We do. We have a mole.
I actually don't know if I have a significant
in
mole.
our podcast, because today, in real time, as we are recording this...
For real life?
I had multiple people approach me about my opinion of Guardians 2 before they had ever even listened to the podcast and before it had even been recorded.
Yeah.
So I think we need to do an internal investigation because things are being leaked.
So here's the thing. When did you first hear the term, I guess... I don't know, fanboys?
Probably when I was in third grade.
Okay. So it's
we learned
that was probably a long time
We
ago.
learned how to create complex sentences. For and nor
okay.
but or yet and so.
What a
might have been fourth grade
joke there. I mean, I didn't see that coming.
I think that's when it.
Here's the thing. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. We just maybe haven't put a name to it yet.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I started to notice that people started to group fans of specific things like we were separate things. The Star Wars fan base, the Marvel fan base, the Harry Potter fan base. Have you heard this? So,
yeah.
At least in my experience, as someone who liked all sorts of different things my entire life, all of a sudden I'm being told I'm in a specific fan base.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? I can like all of these things at the same time. You know what I mean? I don't have to declare myself a specific fan in a specific fan base. But now that's kind of how we talk about these things.
Well, that must have been before that.
It must have.
Because when I was growing up, you couldn't like Star Trek and Star Wars. You had to be a Trekkie, or you couldn't like Megadeth and Metallica. You were either a Megadeth person or a Metallica person.
Are you a Megadeth or Metallica person?
I'm 100 hardcore % Megadeth person.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it's existed before I was a teenager.
It probably just wasn't called fanboy.
The way people talk about things, you can be like, Marvel fans, yada, 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 or Star Wars fans are never happy. Like an experience to be like, I didn't know I was this or that. I thought I was all these. Yeah. So this is where it comes into play. Like, I feel like if you insult a movie that a lot of these fanboys like, or the Marvel fan base, then they're going to come get you.
Are they?
They're vicious.
I've been working out. So,
What's your workout?
I'm ready for it. I'm just hoping the exterior is sufficient deterrent.
Yeah, you are tall. You are a tall person.
I am a tall person.
How tall are you?
I'm 6'2".
Dang.
250.
I'm not that tall.
At least 10% of that is muscle. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's good.
So be warned.
Dr. Dietz, what movie did we watch?
We watched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Volume 2, which you were told was bad, and then you also say is bad.
No, I was told various things.
Okay.
I went into it having absolutely loved the first one, and I was prepared to be wowed by this. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you were let down.
Yeah, largely. I was very disappointed.
I don't know. I think this one's good, and we'll see
Okay,
why not. What happens in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, directed by James Gunn?
Which is super surprising.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, as I was watching the first 20 minutes, I'm like, this is a different director. Why would they change the director? So, I don't know. So it starts with a super cheesy intro thing.
What do you mean super cheesy?
Where they're fighting this intergalactic
What do you
whatever
mean
the
super
crap.
cheesy?
While
Wait,
Groot is just
put a pin in
dancing
that
around.
right now.
Let's not.
Well, you know what? I'm going to come back to it even if you like it or
I
not.
don't want to. And so they've protected the batteries, and they're going to these gold-painted people.
Yeah.
And, well, Rocket steals some of these little glowing batteries that are apparently awesome. And then all the gold people are coming after them, fighting, shooting, whatever.
Yeah.
They decide they're going to go through this quantum asteroid field. And so they're going through, and things are blowing up. They get to the other side of the field, and then, lo and behold, the gold people are not morons after all, and they have all of this swarm coming in. And then the god in the machine, who is actually a god, shows up.
Right.
And all the guys.
You're not wrong.
And so they're like, whoa, this little 1-inch tall dude just blew up all this stuff. And then they go to the 1-inch dude's house. His name is Ego. And he's created this world out of himself somehow. So they're on this world that reminds you of the... Like, it reminded me of the food fight in Hook. It is revealed that this is Star-Lord's dad. What? And he's a god. What? Which means Star-Lord is a half a god. So they play ball, and Mantis is just like, oh, maybe sad will happen. And then sad does happen because Ego is not actually a good father at all. We find out that Ego is actually just interested in himself.
Yeah.
And in expanding himself across the entire universe. So we find all these dead corpses and skeletons and crap. And Praying Mantis says, those are his other children. And so then they go to rescue Peter Quill. And there's this battle in which they all fight and do cool things.
Yeah.
And then Tiny Groot succeeds in blowing Ego up. Mm-hmm. And then they ride off into the sunset.
Yeah?
The end.
Okay, we have a lot of issues there, but we'll unpack those as we go.
Let's
do it. What did you think of Baby Groot?
I found him incredibly annoying.
What? Why don't you like Baby Groot?
Because I hate Elmo.
You hate Elmo, so you hate Baby Groot?
Yeah, because it's the same guy.
It's the same guy?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Look, that's how cute. He's dancing around. And, oh, he's a Gucci and his
that's
big
actually
eyeballs.
Not a bad
I know.
that's impression.
Yeah. I realize that he's supposed to be adorable.
Yeah.
And he is adorable.
Yeah. So here's something that Marvel will get criticized for a lot is you can't kill characters because they somehow come back. We've seen it a few times now. Like, Nick Fury died, he got shot. Turns out he wasn't dead, he's alive. Bucky died, nope, he's back, type of thing. Groot died, came back as Baby Groot.
Groot's the only one that has an actually good reason for coming back.
Yeah, and James Gunn, the director, got into a lot of arguments online about this is a different character. That death was permanent. It was significant. This is a different version of that character. Which I could see, but at the same time, like, yeah, but it's still Groot being Groot over
Right.
here.
He's just a little Groot.
One time I tweeted James Gunn when this movie came out. Like, no, for reals. It's like, do you think the trailer revealed too much? And he responded to me.
Uh-huh.
He did. He said he was involved and he didn't think the trailer revealed too much of the movie and things like that.
That's cool.
That is kind of cool. And my best friend, James Gunn.
Yeah.
And in between, well, we'll talk about it with the third one probably. He got fired after this one. He just made jokes about it.
What?
Yeah, that's actually...
Jokes about this movie?
No.
Oh, what?
On Twitter in like 2009. He made inappropriate jokes. And like in 2009, and so in the 2016 or 17 when this one came out, people were like, these jokes are inappropriate. So Disney just fired him on the spot.
That's absurd.
Yeah. And then every actor got together. It's like, we're not making the third one unless James Gunn is directing
Good call.
it. Rehired him to complete his trilogy.
Cool.
Anyway, so should we start with pros?
Yeah, I'm gonna let you run with that.
Okay, first of all, here's a picture of what Ego the planet looks like in comics. He's a planet. He's always like that. You just know of him, you know. You always check out the Marvel Almanac.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, there's a bad guy who's a planet type of thing.
So this is a movie like they tried to get around.
Yeah.
How do you have a planet as a character?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, this movie is good. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Starting off with that opening dance sequence. It is fun, and a lot of people will always associate Mr. Blue Sky with Guardians 2 now. But if you think about it, Baby Groot is a baby.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I believe so, yes.
A lot of this movie is about family and parents.
Okay.
Okay? Bear with me here.
I'm bearing.
The first movie is about Peter's mom, getting over Peter's mom and what that did for Peter. This movie is about Peter's dad. Baby Groot is a baby, and he finds himself in a place where he has 4 parents. We got Peter, Gamora, Drax, and Rocket. And that opening sequence, which is fun, also sets up this idea of how are they parenting this baby here. So, okay, I see you're skeptical. Bear with me here. I am
skeptical.
For the reference and to cite my sources, I'm using some ideas from Lindsay Ellis, who made a fantastic video essay about this topic, just the movie. Peter Quill doesn't know exactly how to do. He says Groot gets hit by a tentacle. Gamora says, Groot, be careful. And then Groot waves. She goes, hi. So she's like more tender, you know? Drax is the one that doesn't really know how to parent. Even at one point, he's like, get in my way, dumber and smaller Groot.
Yeah.
But then at the end, he's holding Groot like a baby.
Yeah.
And a Rocket, of course, comes out of his way. Like, get that out of your mouth. Like, Baby Groot's eating something and like smacks the back of Groot's head. They're all showcasing their parental styles.
Okay.
Okay? So that's kind of fun.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's just a lot of funny moments. Drax is the result of many of them.
Yeah. Drax is one of my 3 positives. So
just Drax in general.
Yep.
Why are they chasing us? Because he knows like Rocket took the batteries. I wrote it down.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're after us. What a mystery this is.
Yeah.
I also... So I'm going to talk about psychoanalytic lens.
Oh, nice.
Unsurprisingly. Were you planning to do that too?
No, not at all.
Oh, I'm actually a little bit surprised there. Because the planet's name is Ego.
Right.
And Ego is one of the main problems all our characters are facing.
Yeah.
And one thing I like it is that this movie's focused on specific theme. This one feels more purposeful. Like, there is an intent of them all learning a lesson for the audience type of thing. I just think this movie, it might not be perfect, but has a great ending with that funeral scene. They've all grown, and like this is what we learned from the movie. Like, I feel like there's more purpose behind it in this one. This movie is also way more colorful.
Yes.
Is that a sarcastic yes?
That is one of my negatives.
Negative? See, we talked about this in another episode of how art is not just the people who are making it, but like people kind of in a way contribute to art now. Those paratext. So,
which I learned from you.
I've taught you.
Yeah, you've taught me a lot.
This, I think, is a direct response to people on like YouTube and Twitter saying like these movies are dull and gray and yucky looking. I think this movie is like, let's just make it colorful more than the last few have been.
So it's a good example of the pendulum theory of change.
Oh, is it?
So we have, those people saying it's dull and colorful. So rather than just slightly moving the color towards the center of the pendulum, he takes the pendulum and just slaps it so that it just flies clear to the other end of the spectrum. And so we have absurd amounts of color in here to the point that it feels very... Well, it feels like it's making fun of itself.
I don't know if I agree. But the thing is, a lot of people forget about Jack Kirby. So Stan Lee...
I certainly did.
The guy who... Stan Lee, responsible for many of our superheroes in Marvel. Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, X-Men, others. You know, a lot of them. Not all of them. But people sometimes forget Jack Kirby is almost equally responsible for creating our characters, largely with the coloring and inking and coloring. And Jack Kirby, his style largely is very colorful. And he was responsible for like Thor and Silver Surfer and things where it's space and cosmos and look at all this color. So I think this reflects like how Marvels were in like the 70s.
Right. Yes, I agree.
Good.
However, we can't just randomly decide, oh, let's make this look like the 70s comic books after we have 14 movies that are realistically colored and expect, apparently just me, but expect people to be like, oh, this is on the same level of seriousness as the predecessors, in my opinion.
See, I see what you're saying, and that's where, on one hand, Marvel Studios is the author of these things.
Right.
Make these all similar so they can connect, but they're trying to let the directors do their own thing where there's different tones.
So between the two, James Gunn decided he was going to make this one cartoonish?
I guess so. I mean, and maybe there's some speculation here on my end. But.
Yeah, well, that's what we do.
That's what we're here for.
That's what we're here for.
And I just love that reiteration of family and family. Like Peter found a dad, and he's now very excited about that. But he learns once again, like, hey, his found family is still his family.
Right.
And the thing that a curveball is like Nebula. Nebula was like a B villain in the first movie, and now she doesn't just come in as a villain again, but she comes in to become a sister and kind of a guardian herself. I think
massive negative for me, but we'll get to that.
I think that's one of my favorite things about it, because I think most people wouldn't do that. Like Nebula, bad guy. She wants the bad...
You meaning the transition?
The transition.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, like her turning into a guardian of the galaxy.
Right.
Because
how they did it was bullcrap, but I think it's good.
But I think it lines up with this idea of parents and fathers, because there are three main dads in this movie. There's Ego, Peter's actual dad. There's, what's the blue guy's name? Yondu, his adopted dad. And then off screen is Thanos, the father of Gamora and Nebula. So when they fight, like, that's Nebula's whole thing. Is like, you never let me win. I just wanted a sister, you know? Like, and like, her whole thing is, because I kept losing, my father abused me, like, made me more robotic to become better. So that's her motivation of what she wants to do, is what her father is implementing to her.
Right. All of that was good.
Yeah. And like...
So, I mean...
Okay, go on. Go for it.
Okay, so, in this movie, here's the timeline of the blue girl. What's her name? Nebula. Super, 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 super pissed off at Gamora. Their only goal is to go and kill Gamora. She literally flies across the universe to kill Gamora.
Yeah.
She shows up where Gamora is, shooting at Gamora with these laser guns to the point that she like crams her spaceship into this cave trying to kill Gamora, and then she crashes and she comes out. And then she's like, I just wanted a sister. Bull crap.
She comes to kill Gamora, but that's not what she really wants to do.
But
and like she just wanted to best Gamora one time. What do you mean? I don't know. This is one of those Tony Stark things where I think this specific thing really works.
I think it works not at all. I mean, they had a little battle, like 30-second battle or whatever.
Yeah.
And they get done, and I'm expecting like shank or something. No. She just is like, I just want a sister.
Okay.
Like, no.
And
you can't set all, like, for a movie and a half, she has been angry and wanted vengeance.
Yeah?
She's there. She can get vengeance. And then she has this complete 180 for no reason I could discern and becomes besties with this sister who completely ruined her physical, emotional, social, and psychological
Their
well-being.
abusive father.
She even said it was Gamora's fault because Gamora just wanted to win. If she would have stopped winning, then the dad would not have...
No, this is like, I think, probably accurate to an abusive house. Like... how someone with the power, in this case Thanos, showing favorites, and Gamora doesn't realize what she's doing. She's just trying to survive.
Right, I understand that.
But I think their fight isn't a serious fight. Like, no, because...
she freaking drove the ship into this cave trying to kill her.
Here's the thing. How many siblings do you have?
Me?
Yeah,
4?
4. I think this fight is more like a symbol of how siblings fight. Obviously you're not gonna pick up a giant machine gun and shoot your sibling.
No.
But you understand what it feels like to pick up a machine. Like maybe you get super angry and yell or whatever, but in the end of the day, you're still family.
But I have never gotten that sense from Nebula in all of the movie and a half before that.
Well,
she only wanted vengeance.
That's right. I think this is good because...
where was it seated?
In a lesser movie, she would just be only bad.
Right. I have no problems with her switching sides at all.
Yeah.
If it just needed a lot more events happening between her wanting to kill Gamora and her accepting that Gamora was just trying to survive. That transition happened in the space of literally like 30 seconds, maybe a minute of screen time. That's, for the amount of rage that Nebula had, that is not credible to me at all. But the end result, I'm all in. Like, that makes sense.
Well,
I really like her character.
And also Yondu, which I think in the comics was one of the original Guardians of the Galaxy. I guess to go into my media literary lens.
Wait, are we done with the pros?
Well,
is this a pro?
It's adjacent to.
Let's move adjacently.
It's this getting over ego. Ego, the character, he's only ever been about himself.
Right.
He's always been about, I want to be everything. And he even tells Quill, it's like, I'll give you 1,000 years locked up to get over that or to realize you're wrong.
Spend 1,000 years as a battery.
Exactly.
Right.
So he is full on board to be everything. And I think he likes that. But I love Yondu and Rocket in this movie.
I love Yondu. He is one of my pros.
Because he has that thing that's like, I know you because you're me.
Yeah.
Because Rocket is so afraid of acceptance or love, he just pushes everyone away.
Right.
Because that ego thing.
He's afraid of losing it or doing something. Right.
So his ego's a little bit different than like egos, you know?
Right.
And he gets kind of over that. Because of Yondu and these two butting heads, kind of like he learns to accept love or acceptance type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Peter obviously has an ego trip as well with
everything.
Like, but Peter also has to he gets really excited about being a planet, a celestial, and he lets that go type of thing. And I think it maybe doesn't come across as well, but Nebula needing to admit that she just wants a sister above anything else. Anyway,
Yeah, like the whole family motif, I think is good.
I think it's really good.
I think that it was way, way overdone. But
Oh, really?
I think the core of it was good. So my main problems with this movie was that it went too far in everything it was doing.
Interesting.
So that it all felt fake. Because at its core, like the ideas, the philosophies, like what it is saying about interpersonal relationships, I love all of that. It just felt very like ham-handed in how it went about it. It wasn't subtle at all. It's like beating you in the face with everything it's trying to say.
Like what's one example?
The movie.
What's one specific example? Stupid.
Like the nebula thing that we already talked about.
What's a different example? 'Cause I don't agree with that one.
Okay.
Where's your claim, reason, evidence?
Let me consult. So we've got the Yondu rocket conversation.
Yeah.
Very overdone because neither one of those characters are the characters that they were in that moment. Like they had to set aside their character that has been built over a movie and a half in order to be these touchy-feely emotional beings for a second.
I don't know, because I think Yondu's always been, it's been pretty clear he has a soft spot for Peter.
Yes.
Even at the end when he thinks he has the Infinity Stone, he opens it up, there's the troll doll.
Right.
And he smiles like, yep, that Peter, that he got me, like he's not like angry about it.
Yeah. I get that, but the whole soft side to him, Rocket having a soft side, I don't really think so.
Barely has a soft side. He is like the one, he'll bite you if you like touch him, like which he does to Mantis in this movie.
Right. The whole Drax Mantis thing is another one. It's just way, way over the top.
I think that's mostly just silliness.
It's just right. That's right. Yes. Okay, so now we can bring up Ego and Peter playing ball.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
I don't know.
Absolutely
Peter's,
not.
He's a man-child.
No.
He didn't have a proper childhood, and he wants to play ball with his dad. That's the most simple thing.
That is the most not.
I think it's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be like, what is this TV movie from the 90s?
Right.
I think it's supposed to be like that to highlight how I guess Peter just wanted something like this growing up. Instead, he got Yondu threatening to eat him and all those things.
Dude is like 40 years old.
I think that's why it works.
And Ego is like infinity years old.
Well, Ego's trying to convince him to be on his team. But I think he needs that childishness to help convince him. I think that is on purpose and strengthens like how almost ridiculous that is.
It is ridiculous.
But have you ever played ball? Played catch in
yes.
the backyard? That's like the best.
Do you know who I've played ball with in my backyard? My 6-year-olds. And my 8-year-olds. And 10 and 12.
And it's a great thing.
And it is a great thing.
I know.
Do you know who I haven't played ball with?
Who?
My 40-year-old son. Largely because I don't have a 40-year-old son. But if I did have a 40-year-old son, I would not be playing ball
catch,
with
first
him.
of all. It's supposed to... Yeah, I think that strengthens the whole thing.
So what you're saying, then, if I understand correctly, is all the absurd things that are happening in this movie are all there done on purpose to strengthen it.
Most of them. There's a few that I don't love.
Okay.
But that
pretty much disagree with that statement.
Playing ball, I think, is a great little moment. You know what? Jason's children. Go play catch with him.
Anyhow.
Another thing I love. Here's another one. Gamora and Peter aren't romantic yet,
Right.
I think it's not till the very end when I think Peter, I kind of a little bit of growth there, that Gamora is like, now we can talk about this unspoken thing. But I feel like once again in a lesser movie, Peter and Gamora would have been all like kissy kissy already type of
Right.
thing. But I think she thinks he changed enough because he's kind of, I guess, maybe part of it is this whole idea like Yondu raised me. And then he kind of came to terms like, oh, you were more of a father for me than my actual father ever would be type of thing. And that I think there's a beautiful moment. And I'm going to get emotional even though I still have my dad and stuff.
Okay.
But like when Yondu died and they're giving him his funeral right before they send him off to the spaceships, which I think is a great moment. When Peter says, I always told everyone my dad was David Hasselhoff.
Right.
He's he's got a cool car. And I think it's just kind of touching when Peter says, you know what, my dad was those things too. He had a spaceship. He did this. He was a superhero to me type of thing.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is the realization, like, where Peter ends up at. Like, accepting his Yondu as that. Like, I think that little sentiment he says is super touching. And I think accurate to how people feel when their fathers or father figures die. Like, you weren't a superhero, but to me you were type of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, I love that moment. Okay, 2 more positives and I'm done.
But I don't think... Okay.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
What?
No, I'm not going to say anything about that moment because you're obviously invested in...
I was
Carry
shocked
on.
when the thing Rocket says hit me emotionally. It's like, oh, they still came. Even though he was mean to them. And he stole their batteries.
See, that's over, way over.
I freaking love that.
No. So I've realized just now.
What did you realize?
The reason why you and I have different reactions to this stuff.
Okay.
You seem to be a pathos guy.
Probably.
And I am a logos guy.
Probably ethos.
Okay. Carry on.
No, I'm just joking.
No, that was it.
Please elaborate for our listeners.
No, that was the whole thing.
Yeah, but what if our listener doesn't know what you mean by that?
Oh,
Yeah,
my bad. Pathos means that you respond to and are persuaded by emotional appeals. And logos means you respond to and are persuaded by logical, fact-based, statistic-based appeals. So,
yeah.
I just realized that we've been friends for
How long?
5 years.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
That's interesting. That's really cool.
Because
So I can see how a pathos-based reading of this would be probably. Is this your favorite one so far?
No, I like others more, but this is
Pretty high.
Pretty high for me. One last positive is "The Chain" by Fleetwood Mac is one of the best songs ever.
True, I agree.
And I wanted to come a little bit more prepared. So obviously, whenever there's a needle drop, there's thought behind it. Sometimes not a lot of thought. But if it's a good movie, it'll have some thought behind it. There are lazy needle drops in movies.
Sure.
But this movie is famous for having music.
Right.
And The Chain, and for those who don't know, Stevie Nicks and Buckingham are reminding one another that if they can't mend their relationship at this point, it's never coming back.
Yeah.
The lyrics going, their chain would be broken.
Yep.
Listen to the wind blow, watch the sunrise, running in the shadow, dang, you're alone. What do you say? Never mind. Just kidding. Or, dang your lies, if you don't love me now, and so on and so forth. Because the first time we hear it, Rocket says something super rude, and it's like, are you trying to push away and make everyone hate you? Because it's working.
Right.
They're walking in slow motion. Like, if we don't mend things, the chain's gonna break type of thing. We hear it again, and I think it's one of the few examples in this franchise where it's non-diegetic. It's just for us.
Yeah.
He comes back and punches Ego, and the song comes back, meaning
the chain is reformed.
The chain is reformed, and I think that's a really cool moment.
I do too. I agree.
There's a lot of great
the
moments.
music is good.
What do you mean I mess up? That's my dad. It's like this monster.
Yeah.
I think
I don't
Kurt
know.
Russell, one of his first appearances was on Gilligan's Island.
I didn't know that.
As I love Gilligan's Island, but as like a jungle boy who doesn't really speak English.
Oh,
Isn't that? Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
Man, Kurt Russell's old.
Yeah.
Gilligan's Island.
So we talked about Drax. We talked about Yondu. The other thing I really liked was the 700 jumps sequence.
Yeah. Their faces going, whoa.
Yeah, it felt super Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy to me.
Oh, yeah?
Which I love. So, yeah.
Groot just throwing up.
Yeah. Which happens in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy movies. So.
I got those books recently, and I'll
So
hopefully be
good.
reading them soon.
Everyone should read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It
I
will
love
bring you joy.
The moment when they're trying to get Groot to get the fin. It's like, no, that's a desk.
That's a
We
good
said it was
example
this
of what I'm
big.
talking about.
What? No.
So that was good.
But then it
And it was, and it just kept going and going and going and going. And I'm like, we got it. I got the joke. It was funny. And now it's not funny. And now it's pissing me off.
Oh.
So, I don't know.
Please tell me you have a drawer full of toes or something. No. Let's just agree to keep this to ourselves.
All right.
I guess, yeah, no, let's get into negatives.
Okay, this is me now. Okay.
I have a few.
Okay, so the intro. Okay, so I want everyone in the audience, since I'm apparently in the minority and not liking this
In
movie.
the wrong, you mean?
Minority.
Okay.
Minority is not wrong necessarily. I want you to rewatch the first 20 minutes of this movie or so and actually listen to the dialogue. Because those 20 minutes sound like a bunch of people reading a mediocre script.
Mm-hmm.
They are not delivering, those lines are not coming out of them. They are...
There are a few clunky expositional
the
lines.
whole first 20 minutes. Just do, if you want, listen to the lines. They're not lines that you would actually ever say to anyone. Felt like they were reading a script. The whole, like when Drax is getting sucked out of the plane and Gamora's hanging on to him, that makes no sense at all.
That's on my negatives.
That's a stupid thing.
That makes it seem like Drax is unkillable, indestructible. What's the the threat? It reminds me of Prudes. Like, what can hurt them? Nothing. They're falling. Rocks are crushing them. Blah, blah,
it's
blah,
like
blah.
the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah. So, I picked up on that. I have that as a negative.
Okay, like we can, like, Nebula's attack. Like, the ship would not go into that cave like that.
Yeah, it crashes.
Because it crashes, but then it keeps going.
Hold on. I think this is a nitpick.
It is.
But like a weird one.
Wait, hang on.
Because the ship is flying fast into a cave and then just crashes.
No. Watch it again.
I don't want to.
Okay. Right. I admit that that's a nitpick. But it is one nitpick in a huge basket of similar nitpicks, at which point it becomes not a nitpick. It becomes a problem for me. Okay, I did not come, like I said, I came into this movie expecting to love it. I did.
Yeah.
And by this point that we're talking about, I was like, there was so many just dumb things that they did that I wasn't no longer willing. So,
I think that one's explained though.
Okay, great. Gamora holding and shooting a frickin' gun that's 4 times the size of her and not like falling or anything.
Which
that was dumb.
I think is fun.
I think that was dumb. Anyhow. This is the longest list of negatives I've ever had.
I know. I told my students that you think it's the worst one.
Yeah. Pac-Man, way dumb. Like, that was just... Okay, but by that point, I couldn't shut the movie off because there's only like 10 minutes left. But Pac-Man shows up, I was like, that is the stupidest thing.
At the very least, they planted that earlier.
I know they did, but it was still stupid.
Yeah.
And I have a bunch of quotes that I didn't like that will illustrate the overly played emotions of this movie.
Okay.
Okay. You don't have to believe in yourself because I believe in you. I don't use my head to fly the arrow. I use my heart.
Yeah.
I ain't done nothing right my whole life. You need to give me this. That thing you've been searching for your whole life is right there by your side, and you don't even know it.
What's wrong with that one?
All of those are just the 4 that I picked. There is line after line after line after line that is just like straight out of some 1980s TV movie that's built to show you that you're loved by everyone that you know and whatever. I couldn't do it. Sorry. Okay, I feel better now. One last thing. Rocket builds this thing. This is going to blow up ego, right? It's got 2 levers.
Yeah.
It's got a button that activates it.
Uh-huh.
And he doesn't want it activated immediately.
Yeah.
Because they need time to get out.
Yeah.
And so he puts another button on it that will activate it immediately.
Yeah.
He built it. Can you explain that to me, please?
Oh my God. No,
That's dumb.
well, I love it. If you watch the trailer, like half the trailer is that one moment. All right, say it one more time. I am Groot. Uh-huh. I am Groot. Uh-huh. I am Groot. No, that's the button. Will kill everybody. I think it's... why are you letting fun things annoy
It's
you?
not fun. It's stupid.
That's not stupid. That's funny. Okay. See if anyone has any tape. Do you have any tape? Does Scotch tape work? Yeah.
Frustrated.
Masking tape works. Do you have any? Or, yeah, masking tape works. If you don't have any, why'd you ask me? So good.
Deep breath.
Did you ask Nebula? Well, yeah, kinda. Did you or didn't you? Well, I asked Yondu and she was right next to him. That stuff is good and funny. And then Groot walks away. Runs away with the bomb. That's not good. In the unlikely event that Groot does not kill us, we have about 5 minutes. I think that's all good. Okay.
I think it's good too if this is a movie supposed to be like Mr. Bean's Holiday or like Get Smart or something like that. I think that kind of humor works magnificently in those kind of movies.
I just don't know why it doesn't work for you in this movie.
Because like my understanding of this movie is this wasn't supposed to be Mr. Bean. This was supposed to be a serious entry in the canon of the MCU.
I think it works in the canon of this
Okay.
movie. How do you feel about I
but-
Mary Poppins, y'all?
I don't know what you want me to say to that.
That became kind of like a little moment, I think, but I don't know. I think, what are you laughing at? You look like Mary Poppins. Is he cool? Yeah, he's cool. I think this movie has some good setup, some payoffs.
Like what?
Okay, like the batteries. Like at the beginning of the movie. Why do you still... I don't know. It doesn't matter, but it gives us...
Because
like,
it moves the plot forward later on.
Yeah, you're right. It's a little MacGuffin-y. But then it's like, oh, I have something to make a bomb the size we need. It's not out of nowhere. It's because I took batteries, which is the reason we're in this mess to begin with in a way. There's also the two were established early on. This makes you fly. This is a shield that protects you from space.
Okay.
And then it's like, well, for one thing, it sounds like that funny joke. It was like, I don't like to wear them. I have sensitive nipples. He puts it on, flies away, my nipples. But anyway.
See, but that's what I'm talking about. That's the whole thing. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
I don't know.
Drax is not the same Drax as he's in the first movie. Like, I love him still, but he's now like a caricature of himself. Like, he's laughing literally all the time.
I feel like,
why is he doing that?
All right, well, maybe Drax doesn't have as much to do in this one. But I wonder what our listeners think.
I don't know. This is since this is probably our most divided that you and I have been on a movie.
But at the
I would
end,
love to hear from our listeners.
When Rocket's like, I have 2 things for you to save, you and Quill. One's a rocket, one's the shield thingy. There's no way for both of them to survive. And I think we already know how they work from earlier on. I think that's just a fun setup.
It is.
Anyway, in my negatives, the Drax in the back.
Although Drax going out the back to shoot the ships, that was great.
Yeah.
I loved that.
I think that's fun too. I hate when they're killing off Yondu's crew members, like Laserface or Taserface.
Taserface.
They open the door to space and they
Right.
just slowly float away.
Right.
It's like space is a vacuum. There's no oxygen. You're gonna get sucked out of that thing.
Right.
Haven't you seen Alien?
Yeah.
Or Aliens?
Wait, that's a nitpick, Ryan. I don't think
That is a nitpick.
What the heck? We don't allow nitpicks on this podcast. Rocket making fun of Taserface. That was pretty good, though.
Yeah.
I liked that. That made me laugh. You chose Taserface? Yeah.
Taserface, not true. You're not wrong that there's a Deus Ex Machina getting rid of all the ships at the beginning.
Yeah.
But, and for those who don't know, Deus Ex Machina, God of the Machine, where a hero's problem is solved just by some unforeseen, unset up way.
Yeah.
And then it's like, why didn't the ego do that again later on? You know what I mean? So you're not wrong there. They got Deus Ex Machina out of it.
Yes.
But I think the ship at the end is really cool. How the lasers are in these ball things.
Yeah, that was cool.
There's some cool design.
There is some really cool design.
I also like it when the one golden guy, his ship gets exploded. I don't know if his name
Everyone's
is-
like,
"You suck,
"You
Sarlacc."
suck.
Or
He's
whatever
the
his name
only
is.
one left. Yeah, that was good. There are a lot of really good moments. I agree.
This is not a negative, but it's more of like film studies thing. We've also talked about before aspect ratio, but once you notice it, it's hard to
Unnoticed. Yeah.
The aspect ratio of this movie changes all the time. Not a bad thing, but like when they're in space, usually the aspect ratio will just grow to match the sides. A lot of the movie, you have the two letterbox lines with the black bars on top
Oh, I
and
didn't
bottom.
notice.
But in a lot of scenes, usually the space ones, it'll grow to kind of maybe fit the IMAX screen. Don't know if this was shot in IMAX, but it's usually a different camera or something.
Cool.
But it was happening the entire time.
Did it bother you?
No, it's
Oh.
just
It's
something
just
cool
there?
to see. Yeah.
I'll have to watch for that in future Marvel movies.
Yeah, I don't know where else it is, but
Cool.
should we?
I have one more negative I just remembered that I didn't write down. Why, in the end, are they fighting Ego's human form?
That's
Why is Ego damaged by them damaging this form
When they're
that he
on-
can reform anywhere? He could make 1,000,000 of those forms.
You're
That
not
didn't make
wrong.
any sense.
You're not wrong. And I remember you texted me you didn't like the CGI.
Yeah.
I actually think the CGI is still pretty good, except for Ego's blobs on like Earth and stuff.
Well,
I thought that looked bad, but I thought mostly everything looked good.
well, it looks good, but in like I've already said, in like a unrealistic, cartoony kind of way. It doesn't look good like it did in Doctor Strange, where this is reality being bent.
Maybe.
It's more. Oh, I know what it's like. It's like Spy Kids. Have you ever seen Spy Kids?
Yes, and
That's what this movie, not Hook. This movie reminded me of Spy Kids.
I think, which is funny because there's a MCU movie later on that is a much better, like, why
A
does
much
this look
more
like
Spy Kiddie.
Kids 3?
Yeah.
I don't think it's that bad, but there are a few bad things. But there's also stuff that I think looks so good, like when Ego's face like melts into itself.
Yeah,
I was like,
that part was
whatever,
great.
however they did that looks incredible.
Yeah, I did appreciate that.
But we talked about it last week how Disney has different companies doing different shots, and I think it's happening already.
Okay.
I think
Because that makes sense. Because there were moments where I was like, wow, that's good. But for the most part, it felt... I'm glad I remembered Spy Kids. It felt very
3,
Spy Kidsy.
I like Spy Kids.
I love Spy Kids. And if this was intended to be Spy Kids, then I would have loved it. But I don't think that was the intention.
There's one thing, not for you, but for our listeners, that this movie sets up, which is kind of cool, is Peter Quill is a shoot first, think later type of guy. When he's like, I had to put that tumor in your mom's brain.
Oh, that's another one.
And Peter instantly just shoots Ego. And if you're a listener and you've seen all the movies, there's a moment that people criticize Peter for, but this just shows he doesn't think. He's just gonna shoot out of his emotions. Yeah.
That reminded me of another negative.
What's the negative?
Why on earth would ego ever say that?
I think
that makes zero sense.
Because Peter is now looking at the infinite universe. So I think maybe it's not set up that like, oh, this is something.
Why would he even? Why? Why did he say it?
Yeah, you're not.
That makes zero sense. He would have. Like if I was an infinite being that had lived forever and ever, and I was dragging my kid along, and he was following, he was seeing the plan. I'm not gonna say that. I would never say that. I would never reveal that, ever.
Yeah.
So if he had just not said that, he would have won.
What's interesting, though, I just remembered this little moment. Ego, like, admits if he came back to Earth, he would have stayed forever. And I think that's true.
Because he loved the lady.
But I think that's also because ego, once again, all about the ego of him. I think that scared him. I'm
sure, yeah.
He was like, oh, I think I do feel real emotions here. But I'm a god, you know? I'm a celestial. I'm a planet. I'm going to be all the planets. The fact that I think, it's scared him that he experienced love, had the idea that maybe I do want to stay here. Nope, I can't do that. I think that shows, an interesting side of ego.
Yeah, that was good.
Kick open the door of philosophy of the real.
Philosophy of the real. So I hadn't thought about the very different family stuff that you mentioned, which I agree with. I think that's really cool. I thought this was about the search for meaning. Another one of the huge philosophical questions. So this movie offered a number of really interesting answers. So I wrote down family, which you mentioned, but I'm convinced that it is a lot more rich in terms of its approach to family than I had originally conceived. So like your analysis of the family, I think was really good. But other meanings of life, vengeance, power, expansion, honor, love. Yeah. And so if this movie had been less cartoony and less ham-handed in its emotion, it would be a really rich exploration of what is the meaning of life.
Right.
So I appreciated that part. Like, it has a lot of answers. The final answer, as you've already mentioned, was family. Yeah. Not necessarily blood family, just being with people that you love. Yeah. Your family. And I actually agree with that. So
yeah, I like that, Dr. Dietz.
I'm glad. But basically, I was just agreeing with what you said earlier. That's all. Like, I agree. I had not seen the richness of the family dynamic until you enlightened me. Oh, but now, yeah. Like, I'm not being facetious. Like, I had not realized that it was that rich. So.
Have we talked about the Bechdel test?
We very briefly did with Mrs. Judd when she was.
Oh yeah.
She was here, but not really. No.
I just wanted to, I guess, kind of point out the Bechdel test here, because, and I even Googled this, a lot of Marvel movies do not pass.
I'm sure.
Do you remember all the qualifications?
2 women have to have a conversation longer than 30 seconds about something other than a man.
Right. And they have to have names. And here's the thing. A lot of people get bogged down with Bechdel test. Like, oh, a movie isn't good if it doesn't pass. That's not true. There's a lot of great movies that do not pass. But this movie, it's like a big moment, like to have such a long conversation passing the Bechdel test between Gamora and Nebula here. I looked it up. According to some people, this is only the 3rd Marvel movie to pass the Bechdel test.
Oh. What were the other 2?
Iron Man 3. There's Avengers 2. But besides that, it's not a lot. Right. Which is maybe a little surprising, because the Marvel, this series is branching out with its heroes. Like, We started out with the core 5 with the Avengers, but now we're adding more and more.
Right.
Adding people of color and more women. But the Bechdel test, I don't think should be used for criticism, like this movie's bad because it doesn't pass, or this movie's better because it does pass.
Why?
But then I'm also, well, it's a double-edged sword because I don't know if movies should be a checklist. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, why can't we have female characters that talk about anything other than a man?
Right.
But anyway, so I'm kind of saying both things at once.
Right.
This movie, it's kind of cool. Like, it's a good thing. It's passing with flying colors here. But at the same time, in your opinion, should it matter and does it matter? Does it make a movie better? Does it make a movie worse?
That's like 4 questions.
Yeah. Still stands.
Okay. Does a movie have to pass the Bechdel test to be a good movie? I would say no, it does not. Does it make the movie better? If it does, if it's organic, I would say yeah. One of my huge problems with our world as a whole is, I don't know, I imagine that we've talked about othering before on the pod. I don't know.
Probably.
But it's the things that we do and the way we think about other people that decrease their humanity. So does a movie passing the Bechdel test make it better? I think so, because it moves us in the direction of recognizing the humanity of women, which historically Hollywood has brutalized women.
A lot. If you get a film studies degree, so much of it is like the history of of movies, but like how certain people and things have been pushed or
women have been like I said, brutalized by Hollywood, and the rise of the porn industry in the last 20-30 years has just added fuel to that. And that's one of the main reasons why I hate sex scenes so much, because they just turn women into things to be used. Yeah. So is a movie better because it passes it? Yeah, I would say so. Nice. What else? What were the other 2 questions?
I can't remember.
Is a movie bad because it doesn't? Not necessarily. It depends on how the movie as a whole treats women, I would say. Yeah. I don't remember the other question.
I can't even. I guess that's the thing, because I do agree with you, everything you said. It's like, I guess the devil's advocate is like, well, what's the checklist for a movie then? You know what I mean?
And right, and I agree with that also. So what's the checklist for a good movie in terms of social awareness? I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, I think Marvel's cool that we can see it growing with each movie of adding people and things to like how. Anyway, this might be repeating at this point, but in the first Avengers, it's 5 people. Right. Fast forward to now, including Guardians, how like diverse and expanded the heroes are looking now. Yeah. Any ethics of the reel to wrap up?
Not really. Like the ethics of vengeance is what I wrote down. Generally speaking, ethically, vengeance is a bad idea.
Because it's best served cold.
It's empty. It doesn't improve anything. It doesn't, like, you don't actually, generally speaking, feel better afterward. It doesn't fill the hole. It doesn't do anything other than like rob you of meaning in your life. Because after you get vengeance, what does your life mean?
That's a great question. And I think,
Thank you.
Yeah, and that's why we have a lot of vengeance movies. It's like a whole genre.
I know. And they all, like, you get done and they end the movie there. They got vengeance the end. Yeah. If they carried the movie 10 more minutes, you'd see that once you get vengeance, there's nothing. You're an empty shell. You have no purpose.
Man.
But most movies end it with the vengeance, and he's like, "Yeah, I got him," and the end.
Mm-hmm. I guess. Well, I guess you know what? You just remind me of another. I think this movie kind of touches on toxic masculinity. It's just this idea of these guys like, oh, how should we act? Oh, Yondu, he's not doing what we should do. Let's throw out his people and let's sell him to make money. Like Taserface is like, this is how men should be. Right. But Yondu's more like, I care about Peter as a father figure. He kind of like, I guess betrays this idea of what a manly man should be like to protect his kid,
Yeah.
And Rocket is also dealing with that too, of like previously mentioned things.
Yeah. Got little man syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Dessert of the Real, I think there's a weird, I don't know why they kept making this joke, like, don't eat that fruit, it's not ripe yet.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did it 3 times, but then she's told it twice and then eats it like, it's not ripe yet. Like,
I don't know.
What is this all about?
I have no idea.
But I guess that's the dessert of the Real. Anyway, wow, our biggest disagreement probably.
Yeah.
Next week, Spider-Man Homecoming.
Okay.
How is MCU going to do Spider-Man? Because we've already had 2 other previous Spider-Man series. And this is a world where superheroes already exist.
Right.
So you're going to see how Spider-Man fits into that.
Cool.
I think it's good, but we'll see what you think. There's no telling what you'll think.
Sure there is. Is it logical? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Is it emotionally satisfying?
All of those things.
Great. Then I'm going to love it.
A villain I think is one of the best ones.
Oh, cool.
In this first Spider-Man.
Doc Ock.
I won't. Oh. I'm going to tell you who it is?
No.
You'll figure it out.
You're probably right.
No, it's a villain that you'd think would be like, why would you ever choose that? But how they use it is in a really interesting way.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like really cool. Interesting.
Anyway, Guardians, I gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd. You gave it 2.
I did give it 2.
Mm-hmm. Now, who's to say what you'll think of the third one when we get to that?
I don't know.
Because I think, and I'll double down on this, maybe the best trilogy out of all of them are these 3.
Perhaps. What are the other ones? Iron Man is not...
yeah, it's got the second one.
We've got Captain America.
Not
the second one was awesome. The first one was terrible.
You like the third one too, Civil War.
Oh, that's the third Captain America?
It's the third movie called Captain America. It's kind of everyone's
so
movie,
far, Captain America's trilogy would be my best one.
Yeah. Anyway, Spider-Man.
Okay.
Thwip.
Bring it on.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to leave us a review.
Please.
Give us a like.
Please.
Share it with people.
And most importantly, share it with people.
Actually, most importantly is we love you.
Additionally importantly is please think critically. Please, as you're going into movies, use the tools that we're giving you, that you have, to interact with them as more than just entertainment.
Yeah.
See what they're trying to teach you and assess whether or not you agree and want to be taught that. So, and also, we love you. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.
Bye.